Peace, peace, and love. Good evening. Here it is, the third day of November. It's about the second day into the new moon, and I haven't come and spoken to you in a while, and I need to fix that. I need to speak more often, and there is a passion brewing inside of me, a sense of excitement, a sense of uncertainty. These are unprecedented times that we're in, right? But as I study, pray, ask for wisdom and guidance in the season that we're in, um, I'm knowing that there is a work here. So that needs to be done. And I want people to join me in that work and working for righteousness. So much of what we see on the television has us fear, doom, and gloom. And some of it is meant to distract us. It's meant to discourage us. And is meant to confuse us. And I just want to do my part in making sure that I go on the record about this upcoming election that affects the people here at North America, also known as Turtle Island, also known as Morocco, also uh, known as the United States of North America, the several states. There's so much for us to learn. Um, and I say uh, in a way to encourage you, please read. I know that, it's easy to watch television and hear people just tell you what to think, tell you where to go, tell you what to do. And I want to share with you another way of doing things, another way that's going to bring more joy, is going to bring you more peace, knowing that whatever the outcome of Tuesday is, right, that you will have done all you can do. So I'm giving notice now as to my selection, by bond that I'll put on the public record in writing on tomorrow. But I have a selection, I have a word, I have a say, and it doesn't come by vote. And that's a long story. But I decided that the vote isn't the right way for me to go I'm not I'm not a US citizen in that way. So had I had to do it over, maybe I would have elected to operate as a special type of citizen, claiming and accepting all my original indigenous rights. Um, but I did not know to do that, did not know how to do that. And I just knew that I did not want to spend my time making a selection and knowing that these things can be ignored by the electorate, like was done a few years ago, right? Because the county vote, the people who voted on the county level clearly made their selection be known and it wasn't honored. And that it just is what it is if you do a little bit of research. And you will know that the electorate has the choice on how to use that information that they received. Now, I also found myself in the women's bathroom with a man. I didn't like that either. And I wonder, could that be partly the decision that I made several years ago for selecting someone whose skin tone was like mine, but really whose values were not in line with mine. So what I'm wanting to do now is just to challenge you, a little bit. And it doesn't always feel good to be challenged. It doesn't. But sometimes it's necessary, right? It's like you're an athlete and you're wanting to train to your highest level and you might tire yourself out. You might feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, right? This challenge is on that level, but it's with love and it's based on my duty to share with you some of the things I've learned. Okay. And one thing I want to focus in on is this important skill of making accurate decisions. Not everyone makes mistakes, right? But we are to learn from our mistakes. And we're supposed to go on more than just a gut feeling that we have about something. We should have a strategic way. Of course, the spirit is important, but the spirit will sometimes lie to you if you've been lied to and you've accepted those lies as truth and you've not held it up to what is true, all right? What is sustainable. So I want to give you some information and hopefully it'll enrich you and you'll spend some quiet time and you'll ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? How are you going down in history? Because right now is a time where history is being made. Just a little bit of background about this. At the top of the year, Cat Williams said it, right? He's like, all truth is coming out. All truth is coming out. So we see what the fall and the shift in the music industry about almost 11 months ago, somebody was standing up, talking about if I sinned, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I just repent in my heart. This repent in my heart idea is not righteous. Not righteous. Repent in your heart. We have to repent with our behaviors. We have to repent with our thinking and with our whole being. It means to turn away from. And so I think what I'm doing is challenging some people to turn away from habits and behaviors that might feel good, but they aren't really correct. They're not accurate. They're not sustainable. That's how you know it's not correct. If it's not sustainable, it's not correct. So in about 2 days from now, there'll be an election, barring something doesn't happen to change that. And I'm not going to be part of it in that way where I would stand and vote or send something in, but I do have a selection. I do have a selection, and my selection is for life. My selection is for the living, all right? My selection is for order, it's for peace, it's for something that we could be proud of in light of the situation. So what I've done is I've created a table and I've helped to help share how I've come to my conclusion about who I select to be President of the United States Corporation Company. Now, what is the United States Corporation Company? It's an organization. Yes, it's a corporation. Yes, they're bankrupt since 1933, or it might even been before that, but I know it was taking out of gold in 1933. These things matter, all right, because many of us are knowing the importance of self-governing. We self-govern, and we recognize the United States Corporation as being important to provide several governmental services, like our roads and highways. I don't think I'm just going to get together with my neighbors and create a new road or highway or just create a school system. However, these things are part of what has conveyed back to us as people, particularly after the repudiation of the doctrine of discovery, right? The 30th of March, 2023, when the Pope said, I give the lands back. He didn't say I give the lands back. He said, I repudiate that doctrine of discovery. What was that? That was the doctrine. In commerce, you get docked, right? Or the boats get docked, the vessels are docked. It was the doctrine to, quote unquote, discover new lands. To discover the new lands means to expose them to Constantinian Christianity and to spread the message other than the historical stories, which was that of a Christ, which was that of a Messiah, right? The doctrine of discovery was to use that rich historical message and tweak it a little bit and sell it as Constantinian Christianity. Okay, so I accept this charge of knowing that it was the village, the community that was replaced by Christianity and Catholicism. And I know many who think it's different, but in reality, is it? I mean, have we not seen that the Pope has been at some of the ecumenical conferences with denominational leaders of people who say that they're not a part of the Catholic Church? When if your tithe money is going to them, then that's what you're a part of, because your tithes come from a direct outpouring of your fruit, of your energy, right? And many have been taught to believe that that is the biblical thing to do. But if you look a little deeper, have a fuller understanding of the Bible, and know that that's not necessarily the biblical thing to do. Okay. So maybe I'll start out here by sharing this because I have very limited time. I have a lot on my plate. I'm a little bit behind schedule in completing it. So what I want to do is just share with you this chart that I've created. The chart is going to give you a little bit of how I've made a decision tree on who is best, my selection on who is best equipped to be President of the United States Corporation. And no, there are 3 United States. One United States is the United States Corporation, where there's stocks and shares and that sort of thing. The other one is United States of America Incorporated. Now, most recently, I noticed that, let's say the post office would be under the United States of America Incorporated. So what the post office is responsible for doing, the people who work for the post office, they're responsible with making sure that the treaty in Switzerland, when it comes to the U.S. Postal Union, that those processes are carried out, that the union is available. Now, the post office is in the neighborhood where I abode, or where I domicile is a better word. They're not aware that there's even a postal union. So there's a lot of work for us to do, and it is our work to do as people. I hope that no one thinks that they're going to pick whether it be Harris or Trump and that the whole world is going to be better. No, it starts with self-governance, right? And returning to the ways of our foremothers and forefathers, and recognizing that there's a shift right now. And there's an opportunity to turn to what is right. Okay. Now, one might not know how to do that. And until everyone knows how to do that, we're always going to need some form of government, someone else doing some things for us. And even still, even when we do know how to self-govern, we're going to need entities that can make sure, like I said, our roads are good, and where they're not good, that there are monies and there are efforts and plans and processes to improve them. Same thing now about our school systems. You might not like it, okay? But how do you become involved? I'm early in the process, but how are we doing as a people as creating our own foundations? We don't have to get permission to start our own foundations, right? This is something that's necessary for us to do, to shift things back in a way that is acceptable to us, okay? Because no one else is going to do it. I don't know if you've noticed what's going on. All right, so let me share this document. I created it in Word. And listen, I used to attend a church where I'd hear this, and I think this is a good question. I named the document, what would Jesus do? Because Jesus clearly represents purity, right thinking. And I think that there is a misunderstanding about the teachings of Jesus. So that kind of goes into what it is. But even yet and still, I think we can agree on the story of the Messiah being one of healing, being one of making a way where there is no way, being one of peace, being one of life. Okay? So, with that said, I did an evaluation on what the candidates have said and purported to be their claims. So, the first one was, has either one of these folks given an open example of how to obtain wealth? Now, I don't know of candidate Harris's example. I do know, I have seen Trump, candidate Trump. I have seen that he has shared at least the first few pages of his trust, you know, at least a declaration of trust, at least an irrevocable trust, you know. These are things that are needed in order to navigate. And his trust is probably statutory, which we have an opportunity to do non-statutory trusts as original indigenous people to the land. We might want to think about that, whether it be a living trust, or I want to say living, or a revocable trust or irrevocable trust. These things that there are pros and cons to them all, and I'm not going to get into that. However, I don't know what candidate Harris has taught us and shared with us about how she navigates in commerce. Okay, so I don't like that. That we have not been told. Maybe she'll tell us tomorrow. Okay. Which one of the candidates has demonstrated principles of creation, of management, of trust, and self-determination? I just spoke about that. And what I don't think candidate Harris has done that, because in order to do that, you really want to have an extensive conversation about, or demonstration of, running a company. Now, someone mentioned the fact that Donald Trump has filed bankruptcy several times. You know, most people don't realize that bankruptcy is actually one form of a government subsidy, right? And bankruptcy is a way to manage a business. And if we all recognized our names as businesses, maybe we wouldn't shame the bankruptcy process so much. I've not been in it. I have considered taking my straw man through that process. Okay. There's a lot to read, and there's a lot where we want to read it and then not jump to conclusions that might not be true. All right. So another thing about the bankruptcy process, let's just say XYZ worker is laid off. Now, I wouldn't want to be in that situation, but let's add a little bit more to this. I'm not condoning people getting laid off from bankruptcy, or not bankruptcy, from from one company filing bankruptcy, but there's some protections, right? Now we have to learn how to use the tax code like the wealthy do. Actually, I like Don Kalam's book, right? He has several books, and I was reading one of them about how we can even claim some of the losses that we've had. Let's just say someone stole something from you, literally. You can actually claim that, right? There are IRS forms in there. We have to learn how to privately bank. We have to learn how to live off of our birthright. We have to learn how to write bonds and these sort of things I'm learning now. All right. So it's important to know that there is a way that we can connect. Even, let's say we have unemployment insurance in a state that the Trumpster filed bankruptcy in. I don't know. Hopefully someone went and received unemployment insurance, because that is one of the things, maybe not have, like replaced your salary or whatever, but these are little things that are there to remedy other things that seem to be so terrible. Another thing is business ownership, right? Nowadays we have the internet, and we can start our own businesses to help protect us from the process of doing such myself. right? And you, once you become proficient, have the opportunity to make more, to bring in more than working the job. Okay, so it can be scary, it can be a lot, but I think it's important to evaluate getting into. All right, let's see which one of these candidates has maintained a collaborative relationship with at least one original indigenous individual. I say both of them. I mean, I see uh, candidate Harris dancing and having fun and going back to her alma mater, HU in the house, HU. Okay. Um, and then Trump, if you look into his filings for the cases, the court cases that he was involved in, you will see that he has a relationship with the African American, quote unquote, but the brother doesn't call himself African American. And of course he wouldn't, because that is actually, a term of the U.S. corporation. But he does call himself something similar to American Indian. And it's a brother, he's like my complexion or whatever have you. And so there is an acknowledgement. You think it's okay? You think Trump thinks he can just go around claiming gold and he's not original indigenous to this land? I suspect he knows better. I suspect he knows way better. All right. And so that's not an honorable thing to do, is to claim the gold and use the gold. That has been happening. But that's not the honorable thing to do. The first right is with the original indigenous peoples. Okay. Now, which one of the candidates has a bloodline birthright heritage? All right. Wake up, Kenya. I have to finish this, though. Okay. Which one of the candidates, or both of them, do they have a strong, sustainable stance on human rights issues in North America? Now, I've not really heard much about candidate Harris' stance on the missing children, and in other parts, in some rural parts of the country, children go into foster care and they're not as protected as in some areas, right? Where they actually get trafficked. I have even heard of some of these municipal courts being run and owned by folks who get kickbacks for allowing such thing to happen, or where some attorneys actually still have a job even if they've had children missing. These are not things that these are not sustainable things. Okay. And they're human rights issues. And in this time when there's still experiments going on, there's still things going on against, people's human rights, and they're unaware of them, they're not made aware, right? As long as this happens, we're going to have a human rights issue at America. All right. I don't want that. All right, let's see. So Trump has taken a stand against it. And I don't know if you're familiar with David Strait. I know that they have an affiliation with each other. I don't agree with everything he says, but he says a lot of good, functional things and teaches people the law. He might not address and understand fully a state law and who the Aboriginal people are, or maybe he's under oath not to say, but it's an important thing that we stand up. All right, so the next one, which one of the candidates, or both, has demonstrated the ability to manage companies in bankruptcy? Now, we know the United States Corporation is in bankruptcy. All right, and we know that Donald Trump knows how to handle bankruptcy. That's what he's done. He's used it to his advantage, but he's also he's a savvy businessman. Now, I'm speaking not because I like, to be honest with you, let's see if I like one candidate more than the other. I would have a hard time, choosing that because I recognize them both as human beings and doing the best that they can in the constraints that we're in right now. Okay. All right. But Trump does have that background, and I'm not sure or don't know of Harris's background and her fight for human rights, children being taken, all these kind of things. What kind of concerns me is that she's been like vice president behind a president that has dementia. That means he's not really president. And so she would and should have a big say. So while there isn't, I'm not really sure. Okay. Next, which one of the candidates has gone on the record about their modern day calendar, about the modern day calendar and the inconsistencies with the indigenous people's calendar? So our modern day calendar will be called the Julian calendar or the Gregorian calendar. And the inconsistencies with that is that a true month begins at the new moon all the time. Now, November happened to be around the same time. But generally speaking, the new month is a new moon. And I don't want to say generally. Specifically, generally, that's what it is because month means moon. But what's happening, and I'll say generally, what's happening is that people have been indoctrinated into a teaching that is not historical. It doesn't go back like to infinitum. It goes back to I don't think it was 325 that calendar goes back to, but it goes back quite a bit of ways. All right. And so people are told, oh, the days of the new week never changed. Well, these people who accept that might not have fully studied, various cultures and the logic behind that. Some cultures don't even have a 7-day work week. They have a 4-day work week. Okay. So he did go on the record in explaining the fallacy in the calendar. And that just is what it is. For one not interested in hearing that, that's going to be a lot to read all that. So I'll share it probably on another post. Anyway, which one of the candidates has made a stance on not financing elective abortions? Okay, well, the Don has a commitment to not encourage that. Now, see, the thing about it is, I bet you if a lot of women had more money to access their estates, to take care of their babies, I bet you it would be more of them who would want to keep them. All right. So that's just something to think about because I don't hear either one of the candidates speaking on that. And that's very important. Okay. The last one. Which one of the candidates has earned a significant income from increasing the industrial prison market? All right. So Miss Harris did do that. See, what has happened is that we need to learn how to be compliant to our own rules. There's been a drift away from the rules. And when I say I own, I'm talking about like the people here at North America. We have rules and we have standards, and you don't want to make it up as you go. And what's beautiful is that we are a melting pot of different cultures, but it's also a weakness, right? And it could be a danger, right? Because let me just read this as is here and see where we can go. So at least one of the candidates, all right, have they gone, I'm skipping around, I apologize. Have one of the candidates earned a significant income from increasing the industrial prison market? Well, yes, Mrs. Harris did. How? How would this be the case? How could she possibly increase the market? Well, first we have to understand and know 100% sure that it's actually unlawful to detain someone who has not intentionally hurt another. Then with that, then it's a question of, did you get the warrant? Did you get the writ? Did you do things in process and in order? Many times the answer is no. And so they're not going to just tell you no. You have to learn how to claim the bonds and to remove yourself from that jurisdiction. Okay. So those are just a few things that stood out. I'm obviously very sleepy, but I really wanted to share this with you. And, if you can't imagine, let this play out. If you can't imagine Jesus standing in line with you to make your selection, then that's something to really think about, right? Is what you really value, what you truly value, is that in line with what the corporation is needing you to do? Okay. So I'm speaking vaguely. I will speak again. My point is to vote within your conscience about what is right. Vote knowing that we're all, to a certain degree, wealthy, and we don't have to wait for these systems to be in place to be our best selves. And that's what it's about. That's the important thing, is to be our best selves and to make the world better for other people. So I just encourage you to ask for guidance. What would my foremothers and forefathers do? What would my foremothers and forefathers do? Because that's what's sustainable, not how someone looks or whatever have you, right? So thank you for allowing me to share. And let me back out some of all this. I don't know where my document is that I had saved. But rather than vote for the lesser of two evils, before you vote for the lesser of two evils, take some time and ask for wisdom. And that's what I just encourage you to do. And afterwards, you like the result, rejoice. Rejoice in knowing that you contribute to that and to the right thing. All right. Peace. What happened? Was I recording with no record? All right. Well, my light is on. So I'm just going to find out a way back out of this. My light is on. If you're here, great. If not, my prayers are with you. So let me come on out of this somehow or another. Oh, I'm still live. Excuse me. I'm keeping this up. Okay. The point is not to be perfect here. The point is to share a word. I will come to you clean, fresh, ready next time. I'm clean. But obviously I am sleepy. But my point is stand up for what is right. And that's what I'll be doing tomorrow by selecting. And I select and choose life for myself and life for all those who are committed to helping others. All right. By bond, I'll speak and write and express my will. All right. And see if that helps.